Picture a spider the size of a dinner plate crawling across the black seafloor under Antarctic ice. Not a land spider, not something hiding in your house. A sea spider with long pale legs spread across the bottom of the Southern Ocean like a walking skeleton. Now picture shrimp-like crustaceans as big as small birds, sea stars larger than dinner plates, sponges rising from the seafloor like ancient glass towers, and strange armored animals moving slowly through water so cold it should make life impossible. This is the part of Antarctica most people never see. Above the ice, Antarctica looks empty. White cliffs, blue shadows, wind, penguins, seals, silence. But beneath the ice in the dark water around the continent, life has done something strange. It has grown large. And for more than a century, scientists have been asking the same question. Why does the ocean at the bottom of the world turn certain animals into giants? The answer is not one thing. It is not just the cold. It is not just the oxygen. It is not just food or isolation or time. It is all of them working together. Antarctica is not a place where life breaks the rules. It is a place where the rules are different. To understand why, start with the water itself. The Southern Ocean surrounds Antarctica like a moving wall. It is not a quiet pond at the edge of the planet. It is a powerful ring of water, winds, currents, ice, storms, and darkness. This ocean is cut off from the warmer seas to the north by strong currents and temperature fronts. For many animals, crossing into or out of the Antarctic world is not easy. The water is colder, the seasons are harsher, the sunlight comes and goes in extremes, the seafloor can be scraped by ice, food can arrive in sudden bursts, then almost disappear for months. And yet this harsh ocean is full of life. That is the first surprise. The second surprise is that some of this life becomes enormous. Not enormous like a blue whale, although whales feed there too. The stranger giants are the smaller creatures that should not look like giants at all. Sea spiders, amphipods, isopods, sea stars, sponges. Creatures many people would normally ignore if they were the size of a fingernail. But in Antarctic water, some of them grow into versions of themselves that look almost prehistoric. Scientists call this polar gigantism. It means that certain animals living near the poles grow larger than their relatives in warmer regions. But the name can be misleading because it sounds like Antarctica simply makes everything big. It does not. There are tiny Antarctic animals too, many of them. Some creatures remain small, delicate, and almost invisible. The Southern Ocean is not a machine that turns every animal into a monster. It is more like an old workshop where evolution has a different set of tools. The first tool is cold, and cold water is not just uncomfortable water. Cold water behaves differently. When water gets colder, it can hold more dissolved oxygen. This is the oxygen fish, crustaceans, worms, sea spiders, and countless other animals use to breathe. Warm water holds less of it. That one fact changes everything. Imagine trying to run a fire in a small room. If the room has poor air, the fire struggles. If the room has plenty of oxygen, the fire can burn more easily. Animal bodies are not fires, but they also need oxygen to release energy. Every muscle movement, every growing cell, every heartbeat or equivalent body function depends on energy, and energy depends on oxygen. In warm water, the problem is double. Warm water holds less oxygen, and warm animals usually burn energy faster. Their bodies demand more oxygen at the exact time the water offers less of it. But in Antarctica, the equation flips. The water holds more oxygen, and the animals living in that cold water often have slower metabolisms. They demand less. The water offers more. That is the oxygen bargain. And for certain animals, that bargain may allow the body to grow larger before it hits the usual oxygen limits. But this is where the story gets more interesting because oxygen alone does not explain everything. If oxygen were the only answer, every cold water animal would become huge. They do not. So scientists began looking deeper. To grow large, an animal has to solve a basic engineering problem. As a body gets bigger, its volume increases faster than its surface area. That sounds technical, but the idea is simple. If you double the size of an animal, the inside becomes much larger very quickly. There is more tissue to feed, more cells to supply, more waste to remove. But the outside surface, the part that can exchange oxygen with the water, does not keep up as easily. For small animals, this is not a big problem. Oxygen can diffuse in, waste can diffuse out. The body is small enough that simple systems can work. But the larger you get, the harder that becomes. A big body is a transportation problem. Oxygen has to reach the inside, and that is why Antarctic sea spiders are so fascinating. They look like something from another planet. A tiny central body with long, thin legs walking slowly across the seafloor. But those legs are not just for walking. In sea spiders, the legs are part of the breathing system. They absorb oxygen through their outer surface. So when scientists studied giant Antarctic sea spiders, they were not just looking at size, they were looking at how a creature with no normal lungs and no fish-like gills could become so large. And the answer appears to be built into the legs. As some of these sea spiders grow larger, their leg covering becomes more porous, more holes, more pathways, more surface for oxygen to pass through. That means the giant sea spider is not just getting bigger, its body is changing the way it handles oxygen. This is not a monster created by accident, it is a living solution to a cold water problem. The animal spreads itself out, thin legs, long reach, lots of surface area, slow movement, low demand. A giant sea spider is basically a walking oxygen strategy, and once you see that, it stops looking like a freak, it starts looking like a design. But sea spiders are only one part of the mystery. The Southern Ocean also has giant amphipods. Amphipods are small shrimp-like crustaceans. In many parts of the world, you might barely notice them. They live among seaweed, stones, sand, and deep-sea debris. They are scavengers, grazers, cleaners, and prey for larger animals. But in polar waters, some amphipods become unusually large. Scientists studying amphipods found a strong link between oxygen availability and the maximum sizes these animals can reach. This does not mean oxygen forces them to become big. It means oxygen may remove a ceiling. Think of it like a low doorway. In warmer water, the doorway is lower. A lineage may evolve, diversify, and adapt, but if oxygen supply cannot support a larger body, there is a hard limit. In cold Antarctic water, that doorway is higher. More body sizes become possible. Evolution can experiment. Some animals stay small because small works. Small bodies hide better, reproduce faster, or use less energy. But other lineages move into the newly available space. They become bigger. That is the key. Antarctica does not command animals to grow. It permits certain animals to grow. And in evolution, permission can be enough. But size takes time. This is the next part people often miss. In warm tropical seas, life can move quickly, growth can be fast, reproduction can be frequent, food webs can pulse with constant activity. Antarctica is different. The cold slows everything down. Many Antarctic seafloor animals live life in the slow lane. They feed slowly, grow slowly, reproduce slowly, and develop slowly. Their world rewards patience. A starfish on the Antarctic seafloor does not live like a tropical reef fish darting between coral heads. An Antarctic urchin does not race through its life at high speed. A sponge under cold water may look almost frozen in time, but slow does not mean weak. Slow can mean efficient. Slow can mean long-lived. Slow can mean waiting through dark months until the food arrives again. And if you live long enough, and if the oxygen ceiling is high enough, and if your body plan allows it, a slow life can eventually become a large life. That is why some Antarctic animals feel ancient when you look at them. They are not built for speed. They are built for endurance. The Southern Ocean is full of creatures that seem to ask a different question from tropical animals. Not how fast can you grow, but how long can you last? This is where the seafloor becomes important. When people imagine Antarctic wildlife, they usually picture the surface, penguins on ice, seals near the water, whales feeding on krill, birds circling above gray waves. But most of the strange giants live below. Down on the seabed, the world is dark, cold, and often quiet. There are sea stars, brittle stars, sponges, sea cucumbers, worms, crustaceans, and other animals spread across the bottom. Some crawl, some filter, some wait, some scavenge whatever falls from above, because that is where much of their food comes from above. Every year, as sunlight returns to the Southern Ocean, phytoplankton bloom in the water. These microscopic plant-like organisms use sunlight and nutrients to grow. Algae under sea ice also help feed the system. Krill feed on phytoplankton and ice algae. Whales, seals, penguins, fish, and seabirds feed on krill, but not all of the food stays near the surface. Dead plankton, waste, fragments of algae, and bits of organic matter sink downward. Scientists often call this marine snow. It falls through the water like a slow blizzard of food. To an animal on the seafloor, that falling material can be the difference between growth and starvation. Antarctic life is tied to the timing of this food. In summer, light returns, blooms happen, food moves through the system. In winter, darkness spreads, food becomes scarcer, many animals slow down even more. This is one reason Antarctic creatures can seem so strange to us. Their lives are not built around constant abundance, they are built around waiting. And if you are going to wait, being large can have advantages. A larger body can store more energy. A larger body may survive longer periods without food. A larger body may be harder for some predators to handle. A larger body may allow an animal to move across wider areas of the seabed when food is patchy, but size always comes with costs. A large animal needs more total energy. It may reproduce later. It may be slower to recover if populations are damaged. It may struggle if the environment changes too quickly. That is why Antarctic gigantism is not just a story of success, it is a story of trade-offs. Every giant is carrying a bargain, and the bargain only works because the cold ocean has stayed cold for a very long time. The Southern Ocean is not just cold for a season. In many places, it is cold year after year, generation after generation. This stability matters. Evolution needs time. When a place remains extreme for millions of years, life does not simply survive there, it specializes. Some animals evolve antifreeze proteins, some change their blood, some slow their development, some become highly adapted to oxygen-rich cold water, some become so specialized that even small warming can be dangerous. A tropical animal may handle a broad range of temperatures. An Antarctic specialist often cannot. It has spent too long in a narrow world. That narrow world gave it advantages, but it also made it vulnerable. A creature built for near-freezing water may not be ready for a warmer ocean, and this is where the story turns. Because the Southern Ocean is changing. The same sea ice that shapes Antarctic food webs has entered a period of unusual decline. Scientists are still working to understand all the causes and consequences, but the pattern is already affecting the base of the food web. Less sea ice does not simply mean less ice for penguins to stand on. It can change where phytoplankton bloom. It can change the type of phytoplankton that dominates. It can shift the habitat of krill and salps. It can alter how energy moves from microscopic life to the larger animals that depend on it. And for the giants on the seafloor, warming brings another problem. Warmer water holds less oxygen. At the same time, warmer temperatures can raise an animal's metabolic demand, so the oxygen bargain begins to weaken from both sides. Less oxygen available, more oxygen needed. For a small, flexible animal, that might be stressful but survivable. For a giant that already lives near the edge of what its oxygen system can support, the pressure may be greater. This is the hidden danger of polar gigantism. The very conditions that allowed these animals to become large may make them sensitive when those conditions shift. Now, that does not mean every Antarctic giant is doomed. Biology is rarely that simple. Some animals may adapt, some may move, some may tolerate more warming than expected. Some may even benefit in certain places if new food reaches the seafloor. Glass sponges, for example, have surprised scientists before. In some areas exposed after ice shelf collapse, researchers found rapid growth where they once expected only extremely slow change. Antarctica keeps reminding us that life is more flexible than our assumptions. But flexible does not mean invincible, and slow-growing animals cannot always respond quickly. If an animal takes years to mature, delayed reproduction is not just a life strategy, it is a risk. If a community takes decades to recover from disturbance, one bad decade can matter. If a giant body depends on cold, oxygen-rich water, a warmer, lower oxygen future changes the rules. And this brings us back to the sea spider. Imagine it again. Long legs spread across the Antarctic seafloor, pale body, slow steps, a creature that looks fragile and alien but has survived in one of the harshest oceans on Earth. Its size is not random, its legs are not random, its slowness is not weakness. It is a whole life built around a cold world. The sea spider is large because the water allowed it, because its body could solve the oxygen problem, because the cold lowered its demand, because time rewarded patience, and because evolution had room to experiment. The same pattern appears again and again. The amphipod grows larger because oxygen opens the ceiling. The isopod carries armor across the seabed because the cold world permits a slower, heavier life. The sea star spreads across the bottom because food arrives in pulses and patience is survival. The sponge rises like a ghostly structure because in Antarctica, growth can be measured differently, not in days, sometimes not even in seasons, but in years. The giants of Antarctica are not fast creatures. They are not explosive creatures. They are not built for warm water drama. They are built for a world where everything slows down enough for size to become possible, and that is what makes them so strange. In our everyday world, big often means powerful. A lion, an elephant, a whale. Big animals feel active, dominant, obvious, but Antarctic giants are different. They are quiet giants. They hide in plain sight, deep under cold water. Their power is not speed, it is persistence. They survive where warmth would be fatal, where darkness lasts for months, where food arrives unevenly, and where the ocean itself is a test. And maybe that is why they feel so mysterious. They remind us that life does not have one version of success. In a warm forest, success may be speed, competition, and fast reproduction. On a coral reef, success may be color, movement, and constant feeding. In the Antarctic Ocean, success may be patience, oxygen efficiency, and the ability to grow slowly in a place where time itself seems frozen. If you're enjoying this kind of deep nature mystery, subscribe to the channel. We explore the hidden systems behind wildlife, oceans, and the strange intelligence of the natural world every week. Because the more you look at Antarctica, the more it stops feeling empty. It starts feeling like a locked archive, a record of what life can become when the planet gives it different rules. And one of those rules is the relationship between oxygen and size. To understand that, think of two animals. One lives in warm water, the other lives in Antarctic water. The warm water animal is active, its cells work quickly, its metabolism runs fast, but the water around it carries less dissolved oxygen. So if that animal gets too large, it may struggle to deliver oxygen to all its tissues. The Antarctic animal moves slowly. Its cells work at a reduced pace. Its metabolism is lower. Meanwhile, the water around it carries more oxygen, so the same body size that might be impossible in warm water becomes possible in cold water. Not guaranteed. Possible. That one word matters. Possible. Evolution loves possibility. Give life a possibility and enough time, and it will test it. That is what the Southern Ocean has been doing for millions of years, testing bodies, testing limits, testing what can live under ice. The result is not one giant species, but a whole pattern of unusual sizes scattered across different groups. Sea spiders are not close relatives of amphipods. Amphipods are not sponges. Sponges are not sea stars. Yet different lineages have found their own way to become large in the same cold world. That tells us the environment is doing something important. When different animals arrive at a similar outcome, scientists pay attention. It suggests a shared pressure or a shared opportunity. In Antarctica, that opportunity is the cold, oxygen-rich ocean. But again, oxygen is not the whole story. Predators matter too. Food matters. Body plan matters. Reproduction matters. The history of each animal group matters. An animal with a thin body and large surface area may handle oxygen differently than a thick-bodied animal. An animal that filters food from water has different limits than one that hunts. A scavenger has different opportunities than a grazer. A creature with a hard shell has different costs than a soft-bodied animal. This is why polar gigantism is still debated. Science does not have one simple answer because nature rarely gives one simple answer. The oxygen temperature hypothesis explains a lot, but it does not explain everything. It helps explain why giants are possible. It does not explain why every species chooses that path. That second part belongs to evolution, and evolution is not a straight road. It is a branching maze. Some branches lead to tiny animals that reproduce quickly. Some lead to delicate animals that hide. Some lead to predators, some lead to scavengers, and some in the cold, dark water under Antarctic ice lead to giants. One of the strangest parts is that these giants often live in a world where humans barely notice them. A whale breaks the surface and everyone gasps. A penguin waddles across the ice and cameras appear. But the creatures that may reveal the deepest secrets of Antarctic evolution are crawling below, in silence. A giant sea spider does not perform for us. An amphipod does not care that it looks monstrous under a microscope. A sponge does not announce that it may be part of an ancient seafloor community. They simply live, slowly, patiently, in a world that has shaped them molecule by molecule, and there is something humbling about that, because Antarctica looks hostile to life. But really, it is selective. It does not welcome every strategy. It rewards the strategies that fit. For some animals, fitting means staying small. For others, fitting means becoming big. The cold does not just freeze the world, it rearranges the possibilities. Now think about what happens when that cold begins to change. A warming Southern Ocean does not just make animals a little more comfortable. For cold specialists, warmth can be a shock. Their enzymes, membranes, oxygen systems, feeding cycles, and reproduction can all be tuned to a narrow temperature range. Even a small shift can ripple through the body. A warmer ocean can mean less oxygen in the water. A warmer body can mean greater oxygen demand. Sea ice changes can mean different food timing. Krill habitat can shift. Salps may become more common in some areas. Phytoplankton communities may change. And if the food web changes at the bottom, the effects can travel upward, to fish, to penguins, to seals, to whales, and downward to the seafloor. This is why Antarctic giants matter. They are not just curiosities, they are indicators. They tell us something about how life works under extreme conditions. They show us how oxygen, temperature, time, and evolution are connected. And if those giants begin to struggle, that struggle may reveal that the old Antarctic bargain is changing. For decades, scientists looked at Antarctica as a remote place, far away from cities, far away from ordinary life. But the Southern Ocean is not separate from the planet. It helps regulate climate, it absorbs heat, it stores carbon, it drives currents. It feeds wildlife migrations that reach far beyond the ice. The giants under Antarctic water are part of that system, quietly, invisible to almost everyone, but part of it. That is the real reason this story matters. It is not just about strange animals, it is about limits. How large can a body become before oxygen cannot keep up? How slow can life move and still survive? How long can an ecosystem remain stable when the planet around it changes? And how much can we disturb before the oldest bargains in nature begin to break? The answer is not simple, but the warning is clear. The animals of Antarctica became what they are because the Southern Ocean stayed cold, oxygen-rich, isolated, and seasonal for a very long time. Change those ingredients, and you do not just change the scenery, you change the recipe for life. That is why the sea spider matters. That is why the amphipod matters. That is why the strange, slow creatures of the Antarctic seafloor deserve more attention than they get. They are not monsters, they are messages. Messages from a cold ocean telling us that size is not just a matter of food or strength. Size is chemistry, size is temperature, size is oxygen, size is time. And in Antarctica, time has been working for a very long while, so the next time you see the white surface of Antarctica, do not think of it as empty. Think of the black water below. Think of the oxygen held in that freezing sea. Think of the slow bodies moving through the dark. Think of the microscopic algae blooming under ice, the krill swarming in red clouds, the food falling like snow to the seafloor. Think of a giant sea spider walking through that darkness on legs that breathe. That is the secret of Antarctic giants. They are not accidents. They are what happens when life is given cold water, enough oxygen, enough time, and a world so harsh that only the most patient designs survive. Antarctica did not turn them into giants overnight. It gave them permission, and evolution took its time.